everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. I'm here with my new friend, Leanna Baker Williams, who is an Army spouse and the founder and CEO of Scout Local. And I feel like I'm doing you such a disservice by giving you that title because as we were chatting, I'm like, oh my God, you've done so much. So let's catch everybody up and tell them about your journey to where you are right now.
Sue, it is great to meet you. And so far, I've been having such a lovely time getting to know you and all of the crazy stories between us. My name's Leanna. I'm an Army spouse. I've been an Army spouse for 4 years, coming up on our 4 year anniversary. We are stationed in Fort Polk. My journey started back in high school. My original major, I went to public school. So when things said I went to a super fancy school, I went to public school and we had majors, and my major was sculpture and design. And so I started off thinking that I was going to be a sculptor and maybe even in fashion design. I had some little side businesses when I was in high school. So I had a bakery, and then also I make custom made purses for people. And when it was time to go to college, my dad hit me with a sharp reality. I told him I wanted to go to SCAD. So we went to SCAD in Savannah. I did the full tour. And then he asked me after where I was going to go to school. And I was like, SCAD, of course. This is the best place on earth. And he was like, you're not going to SCAD. And that was something I really had to come to terms with, because his outlook was that at any point in my life, I can be an artist. You've been an artist since you designed purses and ran your own bakery, but that's not what you're going to be doing for the rest of your life to bring in income. And I mean, he was coming from a good place. He didn't want me to be a starving artist. And so I ended up going to school for chemistry. I got my bachelor's in chemistry with a concentration in biochemistry. And then after I finished my bachelor's in chemistry, I then went to the University of Georgia to get my doctorate and become a pharmacist. And so when I graduated and became Dr. Baker at the time, I then started my career being a pharmacist. I work remotely, did some consulting work and pharmaceutical work, mostly around access for patients, and so making sure patients can get access to the drugs that came to market. And then more recently, I started my career journey in AI. So I'm still a pharmacist. I still work as a pharmacist, but now I work in AI strategy to help patients and these pharmaceutical companies better use AI to help patients. So that's
Just
kind of where we
smiling because
are.
I'm like so tickled because you were telling me your story. I'm like, goodness gracious, you just have like this natural curiosity and you're hilarious because it's like if you're curious about it, you're gonna go 100%,
Yeah.
150%, you're gonna learn it, you're gonna go to school for it, you're gonna get a degree in it, and you're gonna pivot. And so
Yeah.
this question is so perfect for you because like I know a lot of military spouses get so frustrated because they have to start over with every move. And then they always wonder if it's worth it at the end of the day. And like one of the points you made in your interview that really resonates with me is that, when your dad told you you weren't going to go to the Savannah School of Design, right? Is that was arts and
Mhm.
design. Um,
Yeah.
and then you decide to just pivot from art to sciences. You just made the best of it. And you said that every pivot handed you a tool that you use now.
Yeah.
That I think that is an amazing way to look at pivots. And so I guess my first question for you is like for those military spouses out there that don't come to that mentality naturally, how do they develop this learned response, right? Because military spouses, one thing's going to be sure is that they're going to have pivots.
Yeah. You know, every pivot for the most part was forced, kind of like the military. My dad was not going to support me going to the Savannah College of Art and Design. And so that's a forced pivot. And so I think that every time the military makes you start over, a lot of people think of it as losing ground. Like you're losing your friends, you're losing your community, you're losing your network. But I like to think of it as what skills and things have I learned here that I can then take and reposition, repurpose those wherever I go. There's always going to be some grief. The permission step, like name the loss first. You're losing your job, your network, your momentum. You're losing that stuff is really real, but and I'm not for toxic positivity. Like I don't think, oh, we're losing it and it's gonna be fine. I don't skip the grief part. I do grieve the things that I could have been or I could have done, but I also use that as energy to reposition and using those constraints to build myself up. There's a book about how the best innovation comes from constraints. And so having less and having to work within a box instead of having all the resources in the world, what will you do with it? I think that's an opportunity as well.
No, and I think you're right because I just remember when I was coming up and I would take the jobs that were available and I'm like, how am I ever gonna, why am I doing computer testing on programs? Why do
Mhm.
I need to know how to do inventory? Why? And then it's so weird that like later on in, the career, you end up using all those skills and they just seem like they seem so random. Like, why do I need this skill set? And you're like, I needed the skill set. And you just
Well,
never.
to go from building to making ceramics to being a chemist to being a pharmacist to working in AI strategy to now being an entrepreneur, that seems like the most random collection of
Yeah.
skills that anyone could ever have. But I mean, I've learned so much from ceramics, having to sit with unfinished things and keep iterating from chemistry. It's a lot of rigor, especially organic chemistry. It's very difficult, but you have to stick it out and you have to sit with the things that you don't know. And then pharma, seeing a whole system instead of just one specific patient. Every move I thought I was starting from zero, I thought, oh, I'm going to be starting from zero. I have nothing when I had a lot to work from.
No, I
So
like that.
I don't know. That exact frustration is what landed me on Scout Local and building Scout Local. It's you're always having to start from zero from nothing. So why not build something where people can start from somewhere?
Right. So, as an entrepreneur, though, when you're making the pivot, because it seems like when you're dealing with pharmaceuticals, you're talking to a lot of people, you're talking to a lot of clients, you're
Mhm.
interfacing. One thing I find with entrepreneurship is that it's incredibly isolating. Was that hard for you? Like, how do you develop and maintain your networks, and how do you just stay? Because you seem like you just thrive talking to people. How do you stay motivated when you're working in isolation a lot of times?
Yeah, so I'm not unique in the fact that entrepreneurship is very, very isolating. It's very lonely in the fact that you're focused on building something and it's going to be different or unique in the fact that no one else is probably building that.
Mm.
And it's just you with those ideas, those thoughts, and I, I don't know, the isolation point, I think it's finding people, even if they're not doing the exact same thing, that are just as motivated as you. Um, that kind of like parallel work in the fact that we're not working on the same thing, but we both have the same struggle and having people to bounce ideas off of. Um, I think what I'm building has made it just a tad bit lonely because I'm trying to build that network to help people, and that
Tell
requires
everybody about
talking
State
to
Local.
people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
tell me a little bit about it.
yeah, so Scout Local is a directory and events app that is base by base, and it helps people connect with the resources and businesses at a new post. I built it because I hate Facebook. I'm sorry if for Facebook slander. I hate Facebook. I hate it so much. I hate that it's so hard to find the things that you need. When you move somewhere, you're looking for a place to live, you're looking for schools, you're looking for a dentist, and you could post on Facebook to ask, and it's going to get buried behind, has someone lost their dog? Have you heard about this new event? Have you seen this? And there's just a stack of things, and you can search Facebook for people asking previously, and you'll find the last post a year ago when the information is outdated. That provider no longer takes patients or they're no longer here. And it's like, why is it so hard to find resources when everyone on this base needs the exact same thing? You all need somewhere to board your dog. You all need a vet. You all need a doctor. You all need somewhere to live. You all need, a hairdresser. It's just why is it so hard to find those things? And so that's why I built Scout Local. I'm like, I want to also support military businesses. Why is it so hard for me to find a home-based business without going through MWR, who will take a long time to get back to me to tell me, okay, these are the bakers that you could get in contact with to get a cake for your husband's birthday? Why is it so hard to find those resources? So that's what Scout Local is for, is to ease that transition period. When someone PCSs to Fort Polk, it should be pretty easy for them to find somewhere to go out for their anniversary, somewhere to take their kids to have fun, somewhere to find a dog park.
No, that's awesome. So were there any surprises that popped up when you were making the pivot to entrepreneurship? Like things you wish you'd known before I know you had like little cottage businesses when you were in high school, but
Yeah.
still, are there any surprises that you're like, dude, I wish someone had told me that it would have made it so much easier.
I had rose-colored glasses. I pictured the fun part, the creative part, like designing the logo and
Uh,
making the app. I didn't think about getting an HBB approved, getting an LLC,
Paying
compliance,
bills,
permits,
finding a
bill.
lawyer, finding an accountant. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So I didn't think about any of those things. I was just like, this app is going to be so pretty.
that's
And
hilarious.
it's going to be so easy to navigate. So yeah, I didn't think about permits. I didn't. I built the app myself, and I think that probably would be the part people thought like, oh, that's going to be difficult. And I'm like, I will learn how to build an app myself. And that part was the fun part. Building was so fun, and then everything else that came after to make it to where people could get to it was the hard part. It was the part I wish I'd known. That's
100%. I don't think people understand. Like I think people know about the isolation. I don't think they understand how much time business owners spend on like minutia and admin stuff, like so
yeah,
much time. It's
yeah.
crazy.
And then honestly, you think the fun part is the building and getting the business and doing all those fun things, but honestly, you spend more time with the minutia and the admin stuff than you do the fun part, honestly.
Yeah, like you want to do the fun stuff, but yeah. But we
Yeah.
could go on and on about entrepreneurship. And we should. We should like get you with other like-minded NMSN people because like these are the conversations we always have.
Okay.
Because I love, well, I think what I love is that now there are so many more military spouse entrepreneurs that people have gone a little bit further than where we may be at. And so they have answers, which I just love. And they're very good about sharing.
Yes.
But as we were talking, I mean, like one of the things that dawned on me was that I think when people talk about military spouses, they have this persona in their mind about like a 1950s housewife who's working
Mhm.
for a couple dollars, like because she needs to buy a bonnet or a purse or something, like those would be their words. As opposed to what military spouses are right now, which is professionals like anybody else. They're hard charging professionals with careers making real money. They're not making pin money, they're making real money. And many times they're making more money than their service member. So what do you think? Like, what do you think? I mean, you being a military child, otherwise I wouldn't ask you this because, so because you've been around military. Like, what do you think has changed about military spouse professionals just in the generation from your parents' generation to your generation?
Yeah. Um, huh. I think the times have changed and I, you know, I was going to say ambition, but I don't think that wives from the 1950s didn't have ambition. I think it was just a little bit harder to even push that ambition further to actually do something because of the constraints of the military.
Right.
You're in the middle of nowhere. Maybe you have your degree and you're like, oh, I want to do something, but there are no jobs around, and maybe there's no virtual positions. You can't work from home. And I think that has really supercharged wives. Maybe it's that, it's the work from home aspect, the virtual. You can run a business from home.
Uh,
You can get a job from home. You don't have to be in the same city as wherever you're working. That has really taken, I think honestly, if I had to pinpoint it, that has really moved military spouses a little bit further in the fact that there's ambition, and then you also have the ability to act on that ambition. The military location, the timing, your husband not being home, so you have to take care of you. That that's no longer as much of a barrier when you can work remotely and when you can work on your own time, when you can flex your hours.
so it seems like societal changes are finally catching up to our lifestyle
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
like we have like remote work available and they're pushing other people are pushing remote work. No, that's exactly right. So I always leave the last word to you guys. So I'm just gonna ask you, I mean, you've done so much and you're still very young. Like it's just amazing to me. Like what kind of encouragement would you give to spouses out there who are like, I have no idea what I want to do. Like I feel like I need to find something I want to do, but how do I even get started? Because you had an interest and then you developed a new interest and then you
Mhm.
started a business. So how do
Yeah.
military spouses who may be a little bit lost, how do they find their way back to figuring out their passion or what it is they want to do when they grow up?
Yeah. I think being a generalist gets a bad rep. Even when I was pivoting, people were like, well, that has nothing to do with that. Why would you do that? And I think the biggest thing is your career doesn't have to be linear to be valuable. So much of the time, like the pivots are the obstacle standing between you and the career, and they are the career. The pivot is the career. So I'd say if you're interested in something, even if you think, oh, I might not be good or I don't have the resources, I promise you there are resources and you can get good. If you're interested, that interest can then match that learning to then take you to making that your career or maybe even just a hobby. But I'd say don't cut yourself short. Don't sell yourself short, but before you can actually get out there and try.
No, I love that. And I think that's a great note to end on. I mean, that's very inspirational. So, I just want to thank everybody for joining us and thank you to USA for making these conversations possible. And I hope you'll come back again next week. Leanna, it's been so much fun chatting with you. Thank you so much. If you have any questions for her, please leave them in the comments and we will make sure to get them to her. And Leanna, if you remember, do you remember what the name of the book is that you were referencing?
Oh, let me,
We'll put that in the comments. We'll
yeah,
just we'll wait for
yeah,
Leanna. We'll put that in the comment for you guys. But thanks so
yeah.
much. See you guys here again next week. Bye, guys.
Thank